Hello and welcome everybody. This is Rashmi from Designhill and your host for the day. First of all, wishing everyone a very happy new year. I hope you had a great Christmas and New Year celebration with your friends and families. I would love to know where you're joining us from, so do let us know that in the chat section. I am super excited to start 2021 with this event, which is about how to build a signature service as a designer. And our guest speaker, Thad Cox, would be sharing some amazing, insightful tips with you today. So stay tuned about it. All right. So the event is brought to you by Designhill, which is the world's leading creative marketplace that caters to the creative needs of businesses and individuals alike, who can source high quality designs and buy unique designs and artwork from professional designers from around the world. Let me introduce our speaker for the day. Thad Cox is an art director at eight ad agencies and have worked with global brands on national television campaigns. He's a brand mentor and consultant for startups for unlocking potential. Thad has led brand strategy for the World Bank for CEDRIF project. Adding more to his achievements, he has run 13 campaigns in Times Square in 22 weeks across 30 screens, created UN recognized colorful campaign for NYDG Foundation, and rebranded People Vote and People Vote March, which is the most successful march in UK history. And he is a global executive creative director of Proof of Trust, which is valued over £1 billion euros. So, Thad, thank you so much for joining us today. Kindly go ahead and say hi to the audience.
No, thank you for inviting me, and hello, audience. I really appreciate you tuning in. I hope I can deliver some good value. There's a few people I know there, so yeah, I'm excited. Thank you for having me on.
Wonderful. All right, everyone. Before we start the webinar, I have few things to share with you. First of all, we will be giving certificates to all the participants who would be staying with us till the end. So make sure you learn a lot from this session and you stay with us till the end if you want the certificates. Secondly, one winner we will be sharing. We will be giving. Sharing few codes and few offers with you in the chat section, which you can avail to shop on Print Shop, which is the marketplace by Designhill, and you can avail 15% discount from there. It is an exclusive coupon code for you guys only, so make sure you do avail those offers as well. Last but not the least, we will be one lucky winner will have a chance to win a $50 Print Shop gift card by doing a simple thing. You just need to take a screenshot of this session, tag Thad Cox on your Instagram stories, and tag Designer DH on your Instagram stories, and one lucky winner will have a chance to win. So I'm sure that this is gonna be fun and this is gonna be interesting. All right, so please do that. Also, before we start this session, let's quickly look at what Designhill is all about. All right, everyone, we are all set to begin now. If you have any question, make sure you put them up in the question section and we will answer all the questions in the last 15 minutes of the session. And also make sure you respond to the polls as well, which we will be rolling out in between the session as well. All right, Thad, over to you.
Cool, thank you. Share screen, share PDF. Okay. Is that showing up okay?
Yeah.
Perfect. So like I said, thank you very much for tuning in. Today, I'm going to be talking about how you can build a signature service as a designer. And the advantage this is going to give you is it's going to make you stand out from the competition, and it's going to make pitching to clients very easy. And these are certainly things that I really hated doing. So I wanted to try and overcome that. And so I'm going to show you how I've done it in my business and how I do it for our clients. And then I'm going to teach you the elements you need to put together so you can do it in your own business. So the whole point of having some sort of signature service is it gives you the flexibility to respond to market trends, and particularly to respond to sort of crises that are happening around us that we have no control over. And there's nothing worse than having to sort of live through what we're living through at the moment and not knowing what the future holds. And what this does, it gives you a chance to focus on something new, to find a new problem in the market, and to create a service that your clients are going to really want to come after you for, so you can solve the problem for them and build your reputation at the same time. Now, today, I'm going to be teaching you how you can build a signature service in your business so that you have this flexibility to sort of pivot in a crisis. And the real value of this is it's going to add multiple revenue streams to your business, which is going to insulate you from all these kind of uncertain circumstances out there. A little bit about me. So as you heard from my introduction, I've had probably about 20 plus years of experience in the creative industry, starting with having a degree in graphic design from Kingston University before moving into advertising, where I had the pleasure of working on some big global accounts like Kellogg's and McDonald's and IKEA, producing and being creative director of TV ads. That was fantastic. After moving away from advertising, I got into branding and set up my own studio. And we've recently been involved in a series of high-profile campaigns, particularly for NYDG, where we've been recognized by the UN for our work with the Colourful campaign, and that's led to partnerships with Sesame Street. The reason why I mention it is it's a case of, over the many years of my experience in the creative industry, I've also done a lot of football coaching and DJing, and I've run restaurants and hotels, and that's given me kind of a broad overview on a variety of different industries. And I'm hoping that that knowledge of kind of design and branding and business is going to inform what I'm going to teach you today, so that you can go from being kind of a successful freelancer to having the opportunity to kind of scale up what you offer and become a small business owner. So like I said, the gap between becoming kind of a freelancer who is, doing quite well and actually being able to scale up into something a bit more successful, and perhaps break the six-figure barrier, is going to be, turning into a business. And I believe that having a signature service to offer is going to make that transition much easier. So today I'm going to be teaching you how I can, how I do that for clients and how you're going to do it yourself. Now, as we all know, things have to change, and it's crucial that we have the flexibility to evolve and adapt to the times around us, because if we don't, clearly, the end is nigh and we're going to be taken, we're going to die off effectively. So having this flexibility is enormous. And I know that, having worked in various industries that have been hit by COVID, the ability to not respond to that is really tough. So this is what I want to give to you, this ability to evolve, to take advantage of these changes. Now, I'm going to give a few examples of businesses or people who have done this successfully. They've kind of moved from one industry to another. And if I was to show you this image, I'm not sure how many of you get it, but this obviously would be George Foreman, who went from the boxing ring to the kitchen and has done enormously well by building his brand in the kitchen space. The same is true of people like Lego, who used to build wooden blocks, and then obviously times would get tough and they moved into the wooden block game, into the plastic block game, and now they're absolutely huge. So this thing of where these big traditional brands that we all know started out and how they became successful, that early kind of origin story that they don't always talk about, was quite fraught with danger, and there was lots of often kind of changing direction to try and see what's working. Now, I know this personally. This is our family business. This is back in Cornwall. We have a hotel, and we had to change the hotel into holiday accommodation because that sort of regional business was under threat from various things such as booking.com and holiday letting. But what was interesting about having to run this business for my family was we'd been going for 40 years, and then the markets changed and we had to evolve. Now, when you have a hotel and a restaurant, what you don't want is someone else who's going to try and dictate things and that you have no control over. So what this meant was we had to try and think differently. And the goal with every kind of business that you run is to try and put yourself out of business. So if you can be thinking in a way so you can come up with something which is an improvement of what you offer, and it's in fact maybe even better than what you offer, so much so that if someone else was to offer it, you'd be threatened by that, then that's a really strong place to be. Because if we can start thinking like this and we can start imposing restrictions on our business, we can actually change the way it's going to evolve and grow, because we're trying to anticipate what might happen in the market before it actually does, which means we can prepare for it. And I've always found that the mindset of imposing restrictions on our business is a very, very effective way of forcing it to evolve. So one of the questions that I would frequently put to our team would be, look, if we had to run this differently, how would we do it? How would that change what we're doing now so that we could adapt? So if I was to ask you questions such as, okay, if you had to operate solely online, then that might not be a problem for you. You might go, well, that's fine, I work online as it is. But depending on what industry you're in, that could be quite tricky. Other questions I'm going to be asking was like, well, if you wanted to open a new branch of your business, but you could never visit, how would you make that happen? And again, depending on what industry you're in, this is quite tricky. But these are things that we need to start thinking about, because if we're going to grow our business and scale it up and potentially open in other countries, we need to have systems in place to do that. But the only way you ever think about broadening yourself is to pose these type of questions. Now, one of the questions that I posed a long time ago when I was doing a talk for the restaurant industry was, unfortunately, this: if you were forced to stay home, what would you do? How would your business function? Now, normally that would mean illness or injury or whatever that might be. But unfortunately, as we all know, we've all been forced because of lockdown to stay home, which has limited sort of what we can achieve work-wise. Now, if we were forced to stay home, and we have been, some people will do well, but others won't. And it's all to do with how our business is built to sustain these problems. Now, could your business survive if you couldn't leave your house? Could you adapt it so it could still function, even though it was limited that you couldn't leave the house? And in some circumstances, could you change it and evolve it so much so that it actually thrives in this position? And this is what we're trying to get to here. Is I want to help build a service, the signature service in your business that you can offer, that is going to help you and your business thrive in adverse conditions. And the whole beauty of this system is every time something changes in your business or you want to evolve it, you can just run through the steps again to produce a new service, which is going to basically be market ready. And that's why it's so powerful. It allows you this ability to kind of be completely up to date with your offering. Because one of the biggest problems I've seen, and I know I certainly struggled with this for a while, and I've certainly been coaching freelancers about this, is they are still offering the same solutions to the problems their clients were having before the pandemic. And clearly their clients' problems have changed and evolved, but the solutions that they're trying to sell to them haven't. And this is why there's this disconnect, because the clients don't want to buy from them because it's no longer relevant. So with this system, you can then run it all through again, and you can go, okay, things are changing. Let me create a new service that can take advantage of that. So when I was studying businesses, I was trying to work out what is it that makes businesses successful. And this is what I got it to come down to. And it's to do with how many revenue streams they have coming into their business, but particularly the types of revenue streams. So there's always going to be physical revenue. This is always a standard kind of, if you are, selling products or you're offering physical interactive services. So later on in this, I'll give you an example if you're a restaurant, so I can draw that analogy. But your main physical revenue is often the main service that you provide that's done in person. The next bit is digital revenue. Now, not many businesses that I came across have both, which is where you're serving your physical service, but you're also offering a digital option, which is where people can buy digital versions of your products or services, such as courses. Now, admittedly, yes, there are people that are doing that. They're both kind of selling things, doing events, and doing digital. They're quite advanced like that. But I came across nearly no businesses that were doing all three. And the third revenue stream is this repeat revenue stream. Are you getting people who are continually signed up to what you do, so they're paying a monthly subscription? So this can come from, doing a Patreon, it can be a paid newsletter, it can be courses, it could be a membership. The point being is, if you've got these three revenue streams into your business, it shelters you, because when one of them dries up, so such as your physical revenue stops because everyone is in lockdown, you can still rely on the digital and the repeat revenue to keep you going. So where lots of businesses would have ended up closing because they didn't have the additional revenue options, if you're this way inclined, you are multi-flexible. And the advantage of this, sadly, is going to be if you can survive this, when you come out of lockdown, you can then take advantage of the market space that they've left behind. So if I give an example of a restaurant, because most people can kind of get their heads around the hospitality industry. So typically, a restaurant, if you look at their physical revenue, is dine-in meals. This is customers visiting the business to just eat. Now, that's common, but the problem is there, the revenue out is going to be your staff, paying for your chefs, all your ingredients, your utilities and bills, plus your marketing. So you've got quite a lot of revenue going out and very little revenue coming in. If we flip that over to the restaurant 2.0 and we go, the strategy is to turn your empty dining room into a classroom and start teaching people to cook, we're already able to add additional revenue streams. Not only do we keep kind of the dine-in turns into takeaway and delivery, but physically we can sell products such as books and maybe cooking experiences. Digitally, we rely on education and community to sell cooking education, do courses and ebooks. And then we get the repeat revenue from our community and our subscriptions, our email lists, and our digital following, I suppose. All of those things that we're adding onto the business makes the business a lot more sustainable, but our revenue out hasn't changed. And this is the difference. So when I taught this concept, a sort of lockdown festival recently, a lot of the business owners who own restaurants were blown away because they'd generally only gone as far as, well, we could offer a delivery service. They'd totally overlooked the fact that they could educate their customers and they could use other delivery services and other suppliers to fulfill cooking classes. So this is an example of how you could build a signature service in the hospitality industry by doing this kind of thing. Now, if I look at a freelancer and a typically kind of someone who's just working, a designer, their physical revenue is always going to be, usually up until recently, working in-house or remote jobs. It's physically you doing the work. That's how you're going to get most of your income. But what we're trying to do, and we're trying to overcome this problem, which is when you close your laptop at night, your business shuts, and it only wakes up again when you do. Because if you're not awake to do the work doesn't get done, you're missing out on revenue opportunities. What we want to try and build into this, and this is what we're going to touch on today, is for you to become the Evolve Freelancer 2.0 and to be offering all the additional revenue streams where you still are able to do the remote working and working in-house at someone else's company. But now you're going to start to make money from educating clients on what you do, or maybe people who want to learn what you do who are also designers. You can start creating your own design courses, selling ebooks, and then you can build a subscription model by building your community and selling people that way. And by turning on this kind of education community strand, it's going to insulate you. So if the client work dries up, it doesn't matter because you're still teaching. And that digital aspect is going to scale your time and presence. And you can really take advantage of that and compound that over time. And if you're in the UK and you're in lockdown, this is a really good time to consider doing this. And then also, if we can pay your revenue out, that hasn't changed at all. So this is what we're talking about, is how can I go as a freelancer and kind of expand what I'm offering so that I can go from, just working for other people to actually becoming a small business that is doing really well, that I can then scale up. The key to unlocking that is to be able to offer a signature service to your clients, which can be sold in a big variety of ways, so you can generate loads of revenue streams. And that's what I'm going to teach you how to do today. So, as I said before, if you want to go from a freelancer to a business, the signature service is what's going to unlock that. So the reason why I love it is, I don't know about you, but whenever you attend networking or people ask, so what do you do? I'm often bored by my answer because I used to talk about how I do design and a bit of branding, and I used to work in advertising, and it just felt really boring and people weren't that particularly interested. But the advantage of this is, if I know who I'm talking to, that I can help them, I'm very clear on how I can help them, because I can offer them a signature service which is going to help them grow their business. So when I say I help people just like you develop 3 types of revenue stream in their business by helping them build a signature service, their next question is, what's a signature service? And now I'm into talking about how I can help them. So the conversation will naturally go, let's set up a meeting and talk about how you could do that for me. I don't even have to pitch it. It's just a natural flow of conversation. And the more I promote this, because I know that no one else is offering it, that gives me the advantage of being the go-to guy for offering this type of service. So I promise you, if you develop this in what you're doing, not only will it build your reputation, but it will make it easy to pitch to clients, and it's going to get you a lot more revenue. So these are the 5 stages of the signature service. What I would say, I know that there's a lot of chat going in on the side of me, and there's a few questions. I will be taking everyone through the modules, and then I'm going to deliberately leave quite a lot of time at the end of the Q&A where I'll answer all your questions and I will help you. And then, like I said, if you've got any questions about what I've talked about today or just generally, that's where I'm going to be asking that. So please, put the questions on in the side chat. I will get to them, I promise, but I will just I will go through as we go, and I will stop in between each module just to see if there's anything that anyone has that's particularly timely. Okay, so back to the signature service. There are 5 modules you'll need to go through, 5 stages. I'll take you through each one and I'll break down how to do it. Okay, so the first thing here is, what is the opportunity in your market? Now, we're going to need to find out where is the opportunity for us to, to create this service. Then we're going to work out, okay, once we've decided on what the opportunity is and the service we're going to create, how do we deliver that? What's a way that we can deliver that so it's built so that if we have to scale it, or there's some reason that we can't physically deliver it ourselves, the process can still be delivered by other people. After that, we're going to move on to your product ecosystem, which is where you build out all the different types of ways that customers can discover what you do and buy from you. So anything from, an early lead magnet to get an email, all up to a VIP version of what you offer for thousands of pounds. It's going to be the whole thing. And this is going to help insulate you, because if one area dries up, you can jump to another. We'll then look at how to price that, because this is crucial. And when I do this workshop with clients, I deliberately force them to put a price on the figures, because when you start to price it, not only does it become more real and tangible, but actually you can begin to determine where the value is and whether I should charge more or less. And this is really easy because you start with one price and just see how the market responds. You can always adjust it, but having the price put on at the time is massive, because that's always one of the big things that holds people back, because they want to compare and see what everyone else is doing. You don't need to think like that. You need to go on the offensive and charge what you think you're worth based on the value you can bring. And the final stage is, once you put it all together, is how to promote it and get it seen by your ideal customer. So when they come across what you do, it makes it complete sense for them to book a call with you or even hire you on the spot. Okay, so part 1, market opportunity. This is something that your customers want, but nobody really actually provides at the moment, but they would happily pay for. Now, there's a few things we have to go through here. The first thing, this always starts with, who is your target market? And being able to identify them is crucial, because we can understand what they're going through. And the more specific we can be with our messaging, the more we're going to resonate with those people. And a good example is, if I'm networking and I say I do graphic design, branding, social media, and Facebook ads for anyone really, it's not good enough. It's like me throwing 5 balls at someone and expecting them to catch them. What we want to do is have one very clear ball that we throw at that person and they get it every time. So in this, I always encourage people to nail down 2 things. What is your core offering that you're going to be known for? Photography, branding, web design, and who is the industry you serve? Because if we narrow those things, it's much easier to be very specific and find out all the key thought leaders within that industry and to know what that industry is going through. Now, I always advise people this, and they get very hesitant about, well, am I limiting my options? But I can offer more than just one, branding or whatever, or copywriting. What I'm trying to say is, for your own mental headspace, it's good to narrow your focus. And then once you've built that trust with other clients, you can offer them more services, or you can always change your industry after 6 months. But for this process, I would definitely encourage you to stick to one industry. So we're going to find out our target market, but the key thing is, can we actually identify who we're talking to? And this was where I struggled for many years. I was too open. I would work with anyone on anything, and it made it impossible for me to come up with messaging that wasn't just very surface level and generic. If we're going to build a profile, the 2 things that are going to go into that are their demographics, which is their age, their gender, their relationships and education, versus their kind of psychographics, which is their personality and what they feel and what do they like and dislike. When you've finally kind of understood what this profile looks like and what they are going through, their, how old they are, how much money they make, and all of that stuff, and I can go into this in greater depth at another time, we're going to try and find out what are the challenges that they're having. Because when we know what their challenges are, we can then work out, okay, if this is their challenge, they need this to solve it. Now, you may not always be the person who can provide the final bit, which is the solution to that need, but the more challenges that we can find that our customers are continually telling us about, then we can pick up solutions, because those are the solutions. They're almost verifying that they need this solution but can't find it. And that's where we come in. So how can we find out? Well, it's really quite actually straightforward. I would always ask my clients, if I was working in the restaurant industry and I wanted to know what restaurant owners are struggling with, I would ask them. I would ask, would you mind if I hopped on a call with you just to, ask a few questions? I would ask people just casually who work in that industry, or even better, I would read their comments on blogs, because the comments are really what they're going through. So particularly if you're going to join Facebook groups and LinkedIn groups, reading the comments and asking questions in there is a gold mine of information to gain an insight into what your customer is going through and what they're thinking. Because I promise you, having worked in that industry, we all want to make money, we all want to hire great people, but there are real subtleties to actually, which are industry specific. So spend time, join the groups of your ideal customer, and just gather intel on what they're struggling with, and then ask them, because they'll be happy to tell you. When you finally know what it is that your solution is, you need to work out, okay, this seems to be a common need. Can I deliver that? So this has to be a solution that isn't easy to find. Maybe there aren't any other people offering it, but you need to be able to deliver it. So you need to work out, okay, I know they want this, but before we start, there's no point going ahead with something which you can't actually deliver on. So we need to question the viability of the solution. And this is looking at, well, have I got the knowledge, the experience, the resources, the equipment to deliver that solution? So if my clients are going, Fab, we need help taking our business online, we know that starting a podcast is something that we need to do, but we don't know where to start. That might be something that I can help with or I can't help with. I might say branding is what I'm into, so maybe I need to find a solution which marries up with what I want to be known for. But either way, even if we can't deliver, we might know people who can. We might have experience. We might be able to learn that experience. It's so important for me to make this point, because if you go forward early on with a solution that you can't deliver on, it's really going to affect your ability to do a good job. And if you can't deliver successfully for your clients, you're just going to let them down. And the best way to get clients is to over deliver on the ones you've already got, and they will recommend you. So it's important that when we start, we kind of go, this is a solution. I've got the ability to deliver on that, so I can take this idea forward. The next bit is the delivery. So now we've decided on our solution. We've looked in Facebook groups. We've looked on LinkedIn groups. We've questioned people and said, if I was to able to create a solution for this problem, would you be happy to pay for it? And they've told me they would, and I can deliver on this. Brilliant. So now we're going to go forward with the delivery. Now, when it comes to delivery, we want to try and get this as efficient as possible, and we want to try and show it in a way that really helps sell what we do. So with the delivery, this is the thing. So what I would always recommend people doing is trying to work out from the beginning of the end, that timeline. What does this look like? Now, I used the McDonald's graphic earlier. Now, some of you might have watched, there's a film called The Founder with Michael Keaton, where it's all about Ray Kroc, who was one of the people who was early on in the founder, in the kind of the growth of McDonald's. And in that film, they talk about the McDonald's brothers, and they opened their first restaurant, and they custom built the kitchen. So it was like a production line. And this meant that they could make a burger in about 30 seconds to a couple of minutes, where before it was half an hour, because the production was so efficient. What I want to do for you when you deliver this is to plan out all the steps that it needs to go through to be delivered, so that you can then scale it up and offer it to other people. So when I asked the question earlier, if you had to open it in another country but couldn't visit, could you do it? The answer is, yeah, I could, because I've planned it out. So you need to, when it comes to delivery, work out all the steps that it would take for you to deliver it, all the major steps. The next stage of that is to go, okay, if I was to outsource some of the stuff which I don't want to do. So as an example, if I'm running a product development workshop, as part of the signature service, there is going to be an onboarding element. There's going to be, helping clients, sending emails, booking meeting spaces, all of that stuff. That I can do, but I don't want to. So I'm going to find a project manager who's going to handle the admin so I can focus on delivering the actual work. So this would be version 2, where I've now outsourced some things to a third party and I've put in the instructions on how to do them, but I'm still involved delivering the main meat of it. But what happens if you remove me? Can we get to a stage where all the processes are outlined so clearly that they're almost like instructions? So that if I had to walk into McDonald's and put a Big Mac together, they could say, you do it in this order with this components, and then you ship it out the door. That's a turnkey business. And we want to reach the stage where when we deliver a service, it is almost turnkey, at least in its notary approach. Because what you'll soon realize is when you have to rely on other people to do it, you'll see the weaknesses are, where the weaknesses are of either wanting too much control, or maybe I need to educate, or I need to hire a certain level of talent to deliver that. This is the beauty of it. By planning this early on and knowing that whatever the service is that you've worked out is deliverable, then you can scale it. Because once you've proved it's successful and you've run it for, say, 20, 50 clients, and it's like going like clockwork, then you can scale it, you can franchise it, you can sell it, people can buy it off you. Then it gets really exciting because you built something which is going to grow your business and your revenue. But it only starts with trying to just outline it here. So like I said, it's a really simple process. You're just trying to outline all the systems. And as you run it, look to iterate and improve and use apps and technology and better people as you go. And then you'll finally end up in this sweet spot, which is I've got the team and the process to deliver this without me even having to touch it. And this is why they call it Hamburg University. And when I used to work in advertising, I went to McDonald's to present a TV ad, and you could have a Big Mac while you're waiting for your meeting, because that's where they teach you to run the business. So you've got to think like a McDonald's and think about making it all about systems and processes. Now, the next part is your products. So now we're going to build your product ecosystem. So what happens with this is many businesses have like one revenue stream, like I touched on earlier, their kind of main service. But the real value is in having multiple ways of being able to sell what you do. And so this is called a product ecosystem. And this is a way that clients can buy from you in a variety of different ways at a range of different price points. But by having all these options available, you are going to overcome that problem of when I close the laptop, my business closes, because I'm now going to give people digital versions of what I sell for them to buy whenever they want. The 4 components of a product ecosystem is firstly the free products. These are kind of tasters that allow people to try what we're offering for free. And that's normally typically content like podcasts and articles. Next is the low barrier to entry. Now, these are the ones where we give them something in exchange for an email address or maybe a product under £5. The advantage of these products is it allows people to test out our services to see how good we are and build trust. So when we do these products, we absolutely over deliver, because if their first experience is like, well, I just gave them an email and they sent back this amazing video and article, it's really helpful. The natural assumption is that, well, if that's only for an email, their full price must be amazing. So naturally we build this, and there is a correlation between the people that buy the low value product and the people that buy our high end product. There's often a correlation where I think someone said to me once he would sell 6-figure websites, but the first thing he did before he ever went to see a customer was, did they buy our $2 ebook? Because he said if they didn't buy that, I couldn't close them, but if they did, I could. So this is really important stage. The next is your main product, which is the main thing you offer. So this might be branding or web design or photography. This is where you kind of do the main body of your work. And I'd imagine it's where a lot of you actually focus all of your energy at the moment, is in your main service offering, which is good. We still keep that. But now we need to add on the retain, that subscription repeatable element where we build membership or community into what we do. And that's usually partnered with education. So we can give people a reason to keep coming back again and again and again to buy from us for whatever we do. So as you know, there'll be lots of reasons and examples of this. But effectively, if we're considering that now, we're sowing that seed, we're thinking, yeah, what could I do that would get people to pay a monthly subscription of like $20? The fact we're thinking about it and planning for it is what makes it really important. Once we've done that, and like I said, I've gone through these things. So let's give a few examples. The free ones would be, and I've done it here, so physically and digitally, because we've got to think in both ways. So free of the low is a free sample of something. The digital equivalent is a podcast, a webinar, a video, free content. The low value offer would be probably a workshop or a webinar. The main offering is always freelancing or education. So you're doing the digital version, which is where you're teaching people. And then the retained version is going to be a consulting retainer where I'm sort of going into a business once a month, or I've built a community. So that's where we're looking at kind of, if I can offer all this range of services, they will all work together to bring people into my funnel as well as upsell my existing clients, because I have other services to offer. This is the criteria that I judge it on. So I need to be able to sell this to an individual, like one-on-one. I need to be able to sell it to a group, like a workshop. I need to be able to sell it online without me there, so like a self-paced course. I need to have products such as books and merch. I also need to be able to do one-on-one over Zoom. And I need to maybe even perhaps offer franchises or accreditations and qualifications in what I'm selling as well. Now, again, by just sowing the seed of being able to think of my service and just go, how would I deliver it if it was this way? I'm pushing my brain to kind of road test the idea. And it might be at these stages you go, some of these things I can and can't deliver. That's not a problem, but it gives you a chance to anticipate that early. So then you can then counter that and go, okay, I can't deliver it this way, but I can find another way. So what we have here is the sort of master plan, which is where we've documented everything. So we have a free product, a low product, a one-on-one product, a group product, a repeat product, and the $1,000 burger. Now, the $1,000 burger is the tasty one. I'll tell you about that in a minute. If we do this, both physically and digitally, we've covered off so much, because if we're allowed to go and interact with people once the vaccine has kicked in, for example, I can do all that. But if I can't, while I'm waiting, I can just do the digital equivalent. I've got this flexibility to go in both directions, or even simultaneously. But that peace of mind that comes from knowing, well, I'm not going to be restricted. No one can tell me what I can and can't do, because you tell me I can't do physical, fine, I'll go digital. You tell me I can't do that, fine, I'll go subscription. It gives you this ability to be malleable and flexible and adapt. And that's what we talked about in the beginning. The next part of it is pricing. Now, I know pricing is really big with a lot of you, and I can go into that in a future webinar in greater detail. But I'm going to ask you, can this person buy your service from you in a variety of ways? And the way we do it is like this. Can we offer packages of what we do? So we're going to have, say, a gold, silver and bronze version of what we offer. So again, we're looking to ramp up the quality of what's included, how they receive it, all that kind of stuff. Again, could someone pay us like, yeah, I'm just going to pay bang in one price for the gold package? Yeah, we'll take that. Easy. That's the most obvious one. Then we're going to look at the subscription option. Now, the subscription option is, like we talked about, this community factor. So you might go, well, I've done a self-paced course version of my signature service that you can pay for $50 a month, and it's ongoing and you can have access forever. So there we go. Okay, that's a way of me monetizing a product or service I'm offering that I know my clients love. So by doing all of this, what we got to do is we get to kind of plan out how it's all going to work. Now, I left the $1,000 burger to the end there because this is a great one. Now, the $1,000 burger is a way of testing your market that's going to take you minutes. So if I was in a restaurant and I was like, do you know what? I want to know what's the maximum someone will pay for what we've got on the menu. So it will take me a few minutes to add onto the menu a burger for $1,000. Now, the reason I put it there is to test, will someone buy a $1,000 burger from me? I don't need to say what's in it. I just need to have it there. Now, it does a couple of things. One, if someone buys it, I know that I haven't gone high enough in price. So now I'm going to put a $5,000 burger there. And I'm going to see what the market limit is of what my customers will pay. But the big thing is, I don't have to deliver on it until someone pays for it. And all my rivals are going to be furiously jealous because they think, how the hell can he have the audacity to offer a £1,000 burger or $1,000 burger? But the great bit for you is to get creative. What would it be that would be worth paying £1,000 for? Is it that your burger is cooked and served by Gordon Ramsay? Is it while you watch like a sporting event? Is it the ingredients? It's up to you to kind of think and consider what you would put into a $1,000 burger to make it worthwhile for someone to pay for it. So when we apply that thinking to our signature service, what is the ultimate? Is the ultimate we go, well, we're going to fly to Barbados and Tony Robbins is going to give us a pep talk over lunch while Gordon Ramsay cooks dinner, and we're going to build your brand, and it's going to be $100,000 for the week. Maybe that's your ultimate burger. The point being is, you need to be able to do this so it's a kind of testing the market and getting excited about what's possible. So, as again, I've wanted to go through this and say, can people buy it as a one-off payment? Can they offer it in packages? Can they offer it and pay from subscription? And then obviously we have the $1,000 burger. And the advantage of all these things is you're giving people a way of paying for what you offer without breaking the bank, which means if they can't afford to pay for your service as a one-off, then there's a load of options open to them. And you can go, no, you don't have to pay. Say if your service was £1,000, you go, no, you don't have to pay all at once. You can pay subscription, or actually we do a bronze package for 500. By doing this, you give options, which means you are more likely to sell what you're offering, and then people can buy from you at their own pace. You can be sleeping and be selling subscriptions without even doing anything. So again, this is when we get to the master plan and we put it all in the system and we go, right, the free products go here. We've got low, medium, and high versions of everything, from the low version of the offering to the one-on-one, to the group, to the repeat, and the $1,000 burger. And by filling in this table with the service and the price, we've done so much work. We've totally accelerated the development process and made it feel a lot more real. And this is a really good exercise to generally follow, because when you start to put in the prices, you can actually see what's good value and what isn't, and you can adjust them. And that speed of knowing your prices is really helpful when you go to market, because if you're finding that people are paying or signing up really quickly, maybe you can put it up. The market will let you determine it. But the great thing is when someone says, how much is it? You know, because not all of us like to value-based price diagnose and all of that kind of stuff. You go, it's this price, but you could also buy it as a subscription or in packages. And that confidence to know your price means you don't have to haggle. It's there on the website. The final bit is promotion. So now we've put everything together. We've got the opportunity. We know how we're going to deliver it at scale. We've got all our products and services and we've priced them all out. How are we going to sell it? Well, we're going to come back to who is your target market? That question I asked at the beginning. And you need to be able to identify who they are, what their struggling is, and where they hang out. Now, I've worked in big agencies to do with marketing. And to be honest, for me, when it came to identifying the target market, the easiest way of doing it was I had to look at where they pay attention. Because let's be honest, if I said to you, you had half an hour to spend on Netflix today, like that's all you get, you're not going to browse for ages. You're not going to try a new show. You're going to know, yeah, I want to watch that show. I want to watch Cobra Kai. You're going to go to what matters to you. And we are instinctive. So don't look at what people say, look at what they do as well, because the actions are far more valuable. So if you want to build a simple marketing plan that's going to help you, look at where they pay attention. So go to industry newsletters and sign up for emails, blogs, magazines, and follow social media accounts, because then you get an influx of industry news that's happening all the time. Where do they go? Well, you need to get in front of them. So there's going to be online and offline events that they're going to attend that are industry specific. Can you imagine servicing restaurant owners with a brand new signature service, and you go to a restaurant event? You're surrounded by potentially thousands of clients. And what do they say? So what do you do? Well, I help restaurant owners add additional revenue streams to their business so they can thrive in a pandemic using my signature service. They're going to be like, oh my God, tell me more. So it's easy. What do they watch? Same thing as the industry newsletters. We need to be paying attention to their YouTube channels, their Netflix, and their social media, to who they tune into. What do they listen to, which is the podcast, radio, and audiobooks? What do they read? Blogs, books, magazines, and websites. And who do they follow? Who are the thought leaders and influencers that they all follow? Now, if you put all this in here and you curate your content and you follow only who they follow, you'll end up with your social media feed basically being a news feed. So your inbox and everything just becomes industry news all the time, so that you can be up to speed with what's happening and you can see opportunities before anyone else. The final bit is the customer journey. So we make sure that once we know what they're doing, if they land on what we do, we need to make sure that is a tidy experience so it captures their attention. There are 5 stages of the customer journey, which is going to be awareness, perception, attention, engagement, and contact. So the first bit is, how do they find out about you? How did someone, learn about what you're offering? Once you know, you can refine that and you can optimize those features so when more people come through that sales funnel, they know what to do about you. What is their first point of contact? Do they go to your website, your LinkedIn profile, your Instagram profile? How do they, contact you? What are they looking for? So again, if people go to your social media before your website, it's a really good idea to get your social media optimized so it absolutely captures their attention. What's going to keep them engaged once they contact you? So you might find they go on your website and there's a case study or a really high ranking article or a series of videos. These are things that you need to know work. You need to do more of them. And actually, like I said, study the analytics to work out where it's going right and wrong. What is it they're looking for from you? Is it a track record of experience? Is it working with high clients? Is it depth of knowledge? Generally, if we're pricing high, we're going to need to back that up with the brand value perception of what we offer. So our online presence, particularly in our website, the photography, the copy, and the design has to be high quality to match with the prices we're going to be charging for our service. If it feels there's too much of a discrepancy, people are going to lose trust in us. So again, think about what you're charging, think about what you need to work on, and then fix it on your website. And then what makes them contact you? Is it that you've won awards? Maybe there was an article, whatever it is. Look at the analytics, ask people, why did you contact us? And the big thing, which is where a lot of people drop the ball, is what happens when they finally contact you. Now, if Elon Musk came to you and you asked him to fill in a form or leave a message, how long do you think he would wait around for you to get back to him? I would imagine it's probably no longer than 10 minutes before he tries to find someone else. So we need to think about, if our dream client came to us and Gordon Ramsay said, I need you to help, I need your signature service for my restaurant empire, how long is he going to wait? If you haven't got that sorted, you're going to make a bad impression, you're going to lose out on clients. So this is where you need to think about, do I need to hire someone who is like going to man the phones? Do I need to send a questionnaire? Do I need to have an alert on my inbox? These are all things you can do to refine your service, and you can fix it. And that's about it, really. So like I said, the goal is I want to help you build a signature service that you go through the stages and you create a multi-revenue business that's scalable, that your clients will love, that you can adapt in any market and still thrive and get known for. And I did whiz through it. I'm sorry about the speed, but I wanted to make time for the questions at the end. So I hope that was all okay. And I will just quickly nip onto your questions.
Yes, Thad, that was wonderful. All right, I disconnected the PPT. Is there anything else in the PPT that you want to show?
No, that was it really. It was longer, but I cut it down, believe it or not, and I'm happy for people to have a copy of it. That's no problem.
Wonderful. It was a super insightful points that you have shared, Thad, and I'm sure the audience, looking at the chat and the polls, the audience also loved it. Before we move into the Q&A session, we have 10 more minutes. I would quickly like to give a quick shout out to Designhill for organizing this session. It will take it won't take more than a minute. So stay tuned, guys. In the meantime, put more questions in the question section, and we will be right back.
I've always been creative and always been an artist. As a young girl, I used to paint rocks and I used to sell them for a quarter on the street. And I just fell in love with it. It just grew into a passion of mine. I started looking on the web and I came across Designhill, and they had a design contest to design a logo, and I entered it and I won. And I was like, oh, this is really great. I can pick and choose what type of logos or design projects I want to work on. And it allows me to be creative, keep my hands, with my tools and working. So it's kind of nice. It's really easy to use. You can scroll through the projects and there's sections that you could go by. It's really easy. There's a few clients who have come back to use the one-on-one projects. There's one client in particular, she owns a vintage shop, and I designed her logo, and she came back. She needed a design for a flyer, and she really liked the illustrations that I did for her, so she came back a couple of times with projects. I would recommend it, especially if you're a designer that's starting out and you want to learn from other designers, seasoned designers. It's a place to keep in the game and keep using your tools. It makes me feel great, and it kind of confirms that I should be doing this. And I love to see logos that I've designed out, and proud of that. And I think that the clients are so happy that their logo represents what they do and makes them look good. It's a collaboration. It's good for me, and it's definitely good for them.
All right, she was Carol Young, who happened to be one of the successful designers on Designhill. If you want to know more as a designer and the services that we have, make sure you visit designhill.com after this session. All right, so let's get back to questions here. Third, I see 5 to 6 questions that people have asked,
Yeah,
and a lot of people have upvoted them. So can you quickly check the question
I've done it.
section and we can take them one by one?
Yes, I've done it via upvote. So I will. I'll go through them from the top because they're the most popular. So
Yeah.
yes, I'm happy for people to have a copy of the presentation. I think there's kind of a lot to go through. So by all means, please distribute the PDF. That's no problem at all. The first other question was be how to stand out from other designers. I think what I would say is, I mean, obviously I'm going to say get a signature service because it makes life so much easier because the awful question is kind of why should I pick you? And the reality is if you're up against other designers and you have a signature service, you can say, well, I'm the only one who offers this. And that's very, very kind of easy to kind of an easy way to stand out. And this is so apparent when you do networking events and there's other designers in the room, because unless you've got something fancy to say, you're just going to often repeat what they say. And if you don't go first, then people are going to just switch off. So the main thing is having something unique that your audience needs that only you provide, which is a signature service. So that's the first one. If you haven't developed that yet, then it's easier to kind of narrow your niche so you serve a specific market. And by doing that, you'll end up gaining more experience in that market. So when you're with other people who are also from that industry, they'll value the experience you've already had. So that's what I'd say is commit to compounding your experience and ability within one industry, because it's going to help you stand out against people who have like a sort of wide but rather shallow range of experience across other industries. Okay, what else is there? How do I? Is that okay? Shall I just read them out and then answer them? Is that okay?
So okay, that's okay. Also, I can also read them. So Indra, I hope you got the answer of your question. The next question is asked by Yusiri. I hope I'm pronouncing that correct. How do I protect my design from being stolen? I think it's in the front of copyright infringement.
Yes. So the answer, Yusiri, is that you can't, and people who want to steal your designs will do it anyway. And I had a conversation with one of the best patent lawyers in the world recently, and that's what he told me, because he said if people want to steal it, they will. You just have to be confident enough that you can come up with the same designs, because if you are the person who is coming up with the designs, then you have the creative ability and talent to come up with more. The people who are copying you can only copy, and that's their limitation. And so it's one of those things that there's no point wasting nervous energy worrying about it. You just have to accept it and move on and make sure your next design is even better. And that's, like I said, it's always a horrible feeling. I've been there, particularly in ad agencies, where people are kind of wrestling over ideas for scripts. But the strength comes from the person who can go, I'll come up with something better and I'll prove you wrong. So if someone copies your design, call them out on it, but use that to fuel your ambition to do a better design next time around.
Also, third, are there any legalities involved when somebody who is copying my designs or have stolen my designs? Can I sort of, take some legal action against them?
Yeah, I think you can always send a cease and desist letter. So it's definitely worth speaking to a solicitor about having a fairly aggressive letter to send, to stop them. So it's a case of if that matters to you, then I would go and speak to a lawyer and just say, look, I need some sort of letter to stop someone from stealing my designs. But again, I genuinely feel that it's more important to develop the ability to keep coming up with better designs, because the client also, if you show the working for your designs, then it's impossible to say who stole it. But you're gonna evolve out of this by having that ability to keep coming up with original design. So I would say show your workings on social media. So if you look at something like Made by James, he does this a lot, which is good. It shows that the conceptual work is happening and what you're able to do. And be confident in your ability to come up with better work. I mean, you will never reach perfection. So the goal of a good designer is to be constantly improving by, finding inspiration from other industries, honing your craft, doing all of that. If anything, you have to pity the people that copy you because they lack that imagination. And that's just sad for them. So, it's one of these things that it's awful, but it's a mindset thing. If you were in a relationship and you said, how do I stop my partner cheating? The answer would be, if you're thinking about your partner in that way, you need to change your partner, or you need to stop thinking like that. Otherwise, they will cheat. The ones that work, you just are confident enough to go, well, I'm going to invest in the work that I'm doing or the relationship I'm in. And if I do that properly, I don't have anything to worry about. So like I said, it's either a sort of on the offense or on the defense mindset. So it happens, but you've got to, don't worry, man. You know, you're not going to be like one of those losers who copy. You just have to pity them and move on, because they'll copy anyone. But real quality clients know the difference. And if you show your work and you show your thinking, what you're showing is your intellectual ability and your design intelligence. And that's what clients will hire you for, not purely kind of just the outcome on its own, if that makes sense.
Absolutely, absolutely. So the next question is asked by Jason, and it's with respect to the pricing. The question is, how would you know that the value you put in your design is equal to the price you are asking for?
So generally, you would have to know a couple of things. The value of your work is usually attributed to the business success that you can achieve. So if you've done work for clients before, it's really good to get like actual stats and facts and figures to back up the impact of your work, a kind of before they work with you and after, you know, and relevant facts. So if you design landing pages, what is the conversion rate that went up? If you design logos, how has that helped the business? They'll tell you, because they'll see a measurable difference, and then you can kind of quantify, well, I help this business achieve more, so I can probably estimate what that is worth to their business. Now, the other way of handling this, if you're pricing yourself, is to kind of bracket your price on an approximate. So you go, well, based on my experience, a website design like that would cost between 5 and 10 grand, or, you know, is that the kind of budget you have available? If you can say things like that quickly to clients, then they'll either say yes or no very quickly, and then you can fine tune it. But the real value in the design is knowing what the market rate is, knowing how successful you are with your previous clients, and then pricing it with a price bracket so it gives you room for negotiation. And like anything, price as high as you think you can get, you know, so that it's fair. And then every time you get a new client, just up it a little bit until the market says no. That's what I would say. So like I said, value is subjective, but often the more you can find out about what they value and then the impact you've had with previous clients, it's going to give you a better handle on kind of the impact you've had and what you've been able to do for them.
All right. So I hope, Jason, you got the answer of your question. Next question is by Michael, and the question is, should I offer unlimited revision or not for the same design? What are your tips?
No, you'll never escape, because once someone is given the option of unlimited design, unlimited revisions, they'll take you up on it. It's a bit like an unlimited buffet. They'll just keep going back for more. So what you have to do is be quite clear, and I would give them, say, 3 rounds of revisions. And the goal of that is to limit and put a cap on the length of the project and how long it will last, and yet also give the client some sort of control over feedback and the final, you know, of the final execution. But what you can do is you can submit the work, get feedback, and then you can make it clear that this is the first round of changes. So before I go ahead in the changes, do you have anything else to add? Once they've put in their feedback, you can say, you sure there's nothing else? Because I'm going to start now. And then once you've used it, you go again, your second round of feedback. So after this, you've only got 1 left, just want to make sure. And it allows you to count down to that. And therefore, you're going to ask the client to be a bit more organized in their feedback, because there's a limited amount of time they can feedback. Now, that's part of your process and how you communicate that. I would say that if they came back to you after and were like, no, I'm really sorry, we just want to change one thing, you have a choice of doing it out of your goodwill, or you can say, every time we do a round of revisions, it's going to cost X. And then it's up to them. But as long as you are up front and then you charge them for additional revisions beyond the 3 that you've given in the job, then that should be fine. But unlimited revisions, I don't think is great for anyone, because like I said, they'll just drive you mental, and then you'll grow to hate the client and the project, and it'll just be sad, really. And you want to do a great project, have everyone feel happy, close that, move on to another one, you know, get more work.
Absolutely. The next question is asked by Himwan, and it is about how do we find our specialities and how do we emphasize it to promote our service. So, Himwan, the promotion part we have already discussed and covered during the webinar. However, to put it in the perspective, third, Himwan might want to ask about if somebody who is into 2 to 3 different kind of services, like as you said, you were into branding also, advertising also, and other services also. So how to come up with one signature service, how to decide that?
Well, so if you were to come up with one signature service, it will be determined by what your clients need, first of all, and then your ability to solve it, or find a solution with whatever discipline you want to be known for. And it's the thing of there was a really good quote, which was, I think Chris Do said it, but it was specialize in public and generalize in private. So if you go, well, I'm going to offer branding, and that's my signature service will involve some sort of branding. If they come to you and say, look, we need a website designed and you can do that, then you can do that. But it's going to be much easier for you to build your reputation, because that's what you're talking about, is how do I kind of raise awareness so I get known for something. It's like I said in the presentation, if I threw 3 balls at you at once, advertising, branding, websites, you're going to just freak out and go, I don't remember any of that. But if I said it's just branding, people catch it. And with networking, the whole point is that you want to throw something that lodges in their brain and they can remember you as you're the branding girl or you're the website guy, so that when they meet someone who needs a website, they're going to think of you. That's the reason. They need to be able to pigeonhole you in their mind. And then that's fine. Like I said, if you want to offer other services afterwards, once you've built trust and prove yourself with the client, you can. The danger is that just by the nature of life, we've only got a limited amount of hours that we can spend doing a project. So if I spend 10 hours doing web design, 10 hours doing branding, and 10 hours doing photography, that's 30 hours of my life I've spent across all 3, which is fine. But as soon as I come up with someone who's got 30 in branding, I'll lose. 30 in web design, I'll lose. 30 in photography, I'll lose. So the more you can commit to one thing, not only will it build your reputation, but it will compound your knowledge. And the beauty of that is, if you do a great job at one thing, such as photography for restaurants, let's say, restaurant owners will talk to other restaurant owners, and other restaurant owners will see the new photos and go, we want that as well. It's a small world when you focus on one industry. So that's how you get work, because you now are known as the photographer who does restaurants in the restaurant industry, which means when you go to networking, what do? I do photography for restaurants. And you think, brilliant, show me, and your website is full of it. And it's like, this is getting easy now. So if I'm getting loads of clients, I can up my rates.
Okay, so Paula is asking, can you give some advice or tips to those who doesn't have any experience or clients to start up in this business? So any tips for beginners that you would like to share?
Yeah, I think this is a really easy one. And I think the answer is to do the work for free until you've got that experience. The biggest thing that holds people back is wanting to get paid straight away. But the reality is that if you haven't got the experience, to charge a client to learn how to do something is not fair. So I would say that the advantage is quite simply, I need to say take 3 projects on. And if I take those 3 projects on and I do them for free, I have complete creative control over those projects, which means I can actually ask lots of questions. I can learn lots of information. There's going to be an element of trial and error. And whoever I'm working for is going to be far more patient because it's free. So at the end of that project, what you find is that you've improved a lot, you've learned a lot, you've got a good testimonial, you've got good work. So then you take that forward, you do the same thing, you do it 3 to 5 times for free because you're getting the experience, you're starting out. And now if you're sensible, and again, you compound your knowledge. If we take the same thing, say I'm a photographer for restaurants and I want to learn photography and I want to work in hospitality, pardon me, my first set of photos won't be very good, but the client won't mind because they're not paying. So I've got a bit more freedom and they'll maybe offer me some tips and they'll help me. My second job will be a little bit better. And my third job will be a little bit better than that. So once I've done, say, 3 jobs, I've now got content I can put out to promote myself. And when I go and see the 4th person and say, I'm a photographer who does food photography, I would like to do some food photography for your restaurant. It's this price. And I start fairly low. They're going to go, okay, it sounds interesting. Have you got any examples of your previous work? And now I have. I've got examples of my work. I've got testimonials and I've got experience. So now I'm in a much stronger position to actually charge my work. So it's really simple. You've just been allowed to learn in a stress-free environment, which is going to help you develop those skills. Unlike charging for it, not doing a great job, dealing with the stressed, angry client. The client might not even pay you. They give you a bad review. You know, so like I said, the way to do it is to be humble enough to do it for free until you think you're good enough to charge.
All right. Those who are asking for the presentation, I'm sharing the link in the chat box. Just give me a sec. So you can check out the presentation which Thad has shared just now with all of us. It's in the chat section. All right. So let's take the last question of the session. So it's asked. All right, it's asked by Sonia. Sonia, one part of the question has already been answered, which is about unlimited revision. So that's already been answered by Thad. The second part of the question is about how to deal with clients. It's majorly about making clients disappointed, or so it's all about how to build a good relationship with clients and how to deal with them.
Okay, so I think with all these things, if you're having client relationships, they're tricky. I won't lie, it's not always easy. But being honest and open and trying your best makes things a lot easier. So I would always say that in the very beginning, it's really worth having a conversation with the client to really understand how they're feeling and what they're going through, and trying to understand their business. Because the more information and research and insight that you know, that's only going to inform your design decisions and make better designs. And when it comes to things like presenting the designs, if you can refer back to that information to explain your decision making, and you might say, well, you told me something which I thought was really amazing, so I built that in the design, they might really love it. And so it's this thing of, with all client relationships, in the very beginning, look for red flags. So you make sure you're working with clients you like, who are going to respect you. So if you see, there's a really good book called Book Yourself Solid, and in that book they talk about having a red velvet rope policy, and it's a bit like a VIP area in a nightclub. It's like, who am I letting in, who am I letting out? So I need to know the qualities of the clients, so I know that when I meet someone, they're either going to be, I like this person, or no, that's a red flag. So if you make sure that you have a filter, so you work with any clients you like, and then you take time to understand them, and then when you're doing the designs, you just have an open discussion. If the feedback isn't great, or don't take it personally, it's just a job. You've got to try and detach yourself. They're not attacking you, they're just trying to improve the designs for their business. And if you have that dialogue and it's an understanding and you've vetted them properly, it shouldn't really be a problem. But like I said, knowing about them and their business will help help you make better design decisions and help handle them better. And hopefully it'll be fine and they'll refer you and there shouldn't be any problems. But the big bit is, people don't like feedback that's negative, or if you make mistakes. The best thing to do is say, totally my fault, I made a mistake, I'll fix it. And when people give feedback, try not to get too attached to it. But it does start with being able to identify people you want to work with who are going to respect you in the beginning. That's a big one. And then hoping that they have got like-minded friends that they can refer you to.
That was the perfect answer, and Sonia, I hope you got the answer of her question as well. With that, that was the last question of the session, and it was indeed a value-packed session. Although there's a lot more things that we could have learned and covered, unfortunately, we have limited time here. I hope you guys loved the session and enjoyed it. Thank you so much, Thad, once again, for taking the time out for the session and joining us. It was super insightful, everything that you have shared, every question that you have answered, and and everything that you had to say to the audience and everybody. It was super fun to have you and super insightful session. So thank you so much once again for that.
No, thank you for having me on. I loved it, and thank you for all the questions. Like I said, if you want to find me on Instagram, it's at Mr. Thad Cox. You can DM me or leave comments and I'll happily help. I'm going to be running an online version of this signature service course starting in February. So there'll be a lot more content coming out. So I'm more than happy to share the content and answer questions.
Wonderful. We would be waiting for all the content that would be coming from you soon. All right,
Cool.
guys, this is not very tense. We have a lot more events lined up like this in the next coming days. The next event is going to be about how to attract paying clients as a designer. The link will be shared in the chat section by my team member Harshita. So you can register for that event if you have not registered yet. Also, if you wanna watch this session again, it will be live on YouTube as well and on our events page. The link of the YouTube channel and our events page will again be on the in the chat section so that you can check that out and register for more events and watch the previous events as well. Also, you can follow us on Instagram, wherein you will stay updated about all the upcoming events that we have. So all the links that I'm talking about will be in the chat section again. Also, last but not the least, we have launched some cool design challenges which are worth $7,000. These are the any designers, any non-designers can be a part of these challenges and create some awesome designs using our DIY creative design tool, which is called Designer Studio. So don't miss on these fun challenges and fun contests that we are trying to do for the community. So make sure you check that out too. On that note, I would like to say thank you to everybody who joined us today. Happy New Year once again. Stay happy, stay safe, have a good time with your families, and I hope to see you guys again in the next session. Till then, take care. Bye bye. Thank you so much, Thad, for joining us once again. Bye bye.
No problem. Bye bye.